For joining us for Ashbur's August webinar. My name is Amber Hines, and I'm the owner of Ashbur. I'm really excited about today's topic. We have attorney Julie Steinbacher, who's going to be talking about training your staff on AI. Our July webinar was really greatly attended, and it was talking about using AI for Medicaid applications and Medicaid spend down process. And so with that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you, Julie. We will be able to email a copy of the slides to you after today's presentation. And if there's any questions during the presentation, feel free to type those into the questions tab, and Julie and I can answer any of those questions.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Amber. I'm excited to talk about this topic again. It feels like I talk about AI a lot recently, but it's really, a situation where I really feel like this moment is different. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why I think that. We're also going to talk about what it means for our staff. And we're going to talk about really tangible steps to roll it out to your firm without any type of chaos. So I'd love if you can put into the chat or into any questions if you've been using AI. So just a simple yes or no, even a Y or an N, really helpful if you can put that into the chat. Love to see that, or into the question. So Stephanie, thank you very much. So been using it. So just so you know, as we go along, I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't know if Stephanie is the only one using it. That would be concerning. But, I think we'll talk about later on about how elder law and estate planning attorneys are really slow to adopt this, but something that we want to really be thinking about. So I'm Julie Steinbacher, and I have an elder law practice in North Central Pennsylvania. We actually have 7 locations. I started my own practice in the garage of my home many years ago, but I'm also a serial entrepreneur. I own a personal care home. I'm the president of the $1 Million Solution, which is a coaching group that helps people get the lives and practices that they really deserve. And in all of these businesses, I'm using AI. I'm going to talk today a lot about how we're using that in our law practice. It's an area of law that I'm very passionate about. Being, a former social worker, I really love elder law, and I love what we do for a living. And I consider it really a privilege to be able to do that and to serve families. And I think the thing that's exciting to me about AI is that we're able to do that in a for me, what's become really more fun. So AI for me, if I look back over the last 2 years, it's allowed me to automate some things. It's allowed me to stop doing things that I don't like to do because AI can do those things. And so I think one of the things that we always thinking about is, like, if you're sitting here listening and you're thinking about AI capacity, those types of things, please know that, every 4 to 5 months, AI is kind of doubling the capacity. So what you experienced 6 months ago or a year ago is very different than what happens today. And so I think it's really important for us to be thinking about, how does this transform our practices? It's not just software that we're adding. It's really very much a transformation. So one of the things that I really made me stop in all of this. So I started using AI about 2 years ago after Professor Beyer, who is the chairperson for the Technology in the Practice Subcommittee for ACTEC, said to me, Julie, you're from Pennsylvania, and there's an ethics opinion in Pennsylvania that talks about the use of AI. And he said, next time that we're together, will you present about it? I said, sure. And I thought to myself, my goodness, I have to learn. I have to read that ethics opinion and start using AI. And then, like most of us, I started I procrastinated. And I thought, oh my goodness, like I have to start using this. I'm going to be presenting about it. But I had done enough research about the ethics of it, the opinion, and I had done enough research about, what it was I wanted to use. So I ended up buying Copilot, and I got the enterprise version that was just set to look at my data and not even put anything out there. And I came in one Thursday and I thought, I'm just going to do everything that's on my list using AI. And it was amazing. I needed a trust reformation that I would usually ask a young associate to do. It did a great job, and it did it right then when I was thinking about it. I had it write a letter to a client that had been nasty to my staff, and I just don't like that. And so I thought, my goodness, this is really a great kind of assistant. And over those 2 years, it's really went from being my assistant to really being a colleague. And the first time that I made that realization that that was happening was when I read this essay, Something Big is Happening. And I suggest that everybody read this essay. Now sometimes, some people say it's a lot of hype, but I really got a lot out of this idea of like something big's happening. And we really have to be thinking about it moving forward. I think like his analogy was, going back to early of 2000, before COVID hit, few people saw it coming. Most of us were still shaking hands. I personally was in Vegas at the Construction Expo. And, the biggest thing there was that there was, a couple of countries that wouldn't let people come to the Construction Expo. But basically what Matt Schumer is saying is AI today feels like February of 2020, the kind of those quiet weeks before everything changed all at once. And I can see what he's saying. I can really see what he's saying. And I think, today we're going to talk about our staff, getting our staff to do it. Change is hard. Change is hard in law offices. You have to figure out what direction you want to go, and then you got to get people to buy in. And I think I think it's important for us to be thinking. There's also an opportunity here. There's an opportunity. I know I was able to transform my practice after COVID. We're using Zoom more. We're able to meet with people in different ways. And that's really good and helpful for us. And so I really want to be thinking about that. So the beginning of Matt's letter talks about, looking at back 3 years out. So if we were in 2029, what would we wish that we had started today? What would we wish that we would be doing? And I really love this framing as an owner of a law firm to think. It really flips the question from should I try to do AI to will I regret not doing it? And I would say to everybody, you will regret not doing it. I think in 2029, if we look back, the firms that started training their staff in 2026 will not just be able to do things less expensively, because that's true, but you'll be able to do it at a higher level. I think one of the things that's happened to my office is I actually think our office does a better job today than it did 2 years ago. And that's because we can utilize the tools of AI to take a trust or documents and run them through AI and get a summary just like that. So in a first appointment, I can do more. Please know we're always keeping a human in the loop, but maybe that human in the loop comes after somebody signs on. I think it's important. The questions that I get from my paralegals are a higher level question. Everybody at my office puts their letters through AI before they send them to me. So I no longer have grammar mistakes and stupid spelling issues. I don't know, maybe you're on here, maybe you enjoy spending your time doing that, but I personally did not. And so I think that's important for us to be thinking about, not should I do this, but what happens if I don't do it? And I think it's not just that you're gonna not be as profitable, like it's gonna take you longer to do things. I don't think you're gonna be able to meet people where they want to be met at. I have clients that come in now that find us through ChatGPT. They find us through AI. At our office, we're doing answer engine optimization. I have people who've printed off what AI gave them as an answer, and it's different than when people Google. because the answer is better. So it's something we have to be thinking about. I think it's really important that we think about that. But let's kind of put some numbers behind all of this. So one of the things that's really concerning for a lot of our staff is like, is their job going to be affected? And I think it's really important that you're authentic with your staff and say, yes, yes. Is your job going to be eliminated? No, but it's going to change. So 40% of jobs in the US are highly automatable and will probably be automated by 2030. Yes, it's going to change. And so I think that's important. At our office, we're already changing two people's jobs. So one person used to draft documents for us, and we no longer need her to draft documents because we have an AI agent that drafts the documents that she had been drafting. Now, in our office, we're growing and we have room for her to do other things, which she's actually really excited about. There's going to be a learning curve. She's going to have to be retrained to do some assistance with management that we need. But she's excited about it, and so are we. We have another person that she spends a lot of her time answering the phones. And we are using an AI phone responder to help with our call volume at our office. Because to be honest with you, it didn't matter how many phone responders I hired, still about 10 to 15% of our calls just were not being answered. And you may say, that's not happening at your firm. I'd urge you, I didn't think it was happening at my firm either. So I'd urge you to like get some data to figure that out. But that person, really wants to learn more. She don't want to stay in that job anyways. Now she's still going to be needed, but she's not going to be needed as much. And so she really wants to learn about estate administration. We'll be able to use her in that. So, these jobs are being touched. I think the worst thing you can say to somebody is, no, it's not going to affect you. It's gonna. So what I want to receive out of my associate attorneys is different today than it was 2 years ago. My paralegals is different today. I can tell some paralegals at my office that have really adopted AI, the level of the things that they get me, the questions, the level of the letters that they give me, or they can go the extra step and do a visual for a client just like that. It is different. And so I think that's really important. I mean, I can tell you guys that my number one paralegal at my office, we do a thing called catalytic coaching. So we touch base with people and we kind of coach them through what are their goals going to be for the next year. And one of the questions on there, it asks like, what are you going to be doing in like 5 years or 2 years? And, she put on there, I hope I have a job. And I thought, oh my goodness, of course you're going to have a job. Of course you are. But it's going to be different. And so you have to start using AI so you can be really helpful to me. And you have to learn about it. So using AI isn't just about putting a software. It's about learning how to get the most out of it. And we'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about the practical list of, prompting and what staff needs to do. And so we want to be thinking about that, moving forward so that we're able to really know that we're able to meet this. The reality is the legal field is really in the crosshairs of all of this AI automation. 69% of paralegal billable hours are exposed to automation. 69% of what a paralegal does on any given day can be automated. And you may not be able to see at the bottom of the slide that these and all the slides I have where I get my statistics from, but this is, from Legal Trends. 44% of legal tasks are technically automatable today, right? But 79% of legal professionals now use AI, which is up from 19% in 2023. That's a huge, huge jump. And so we really want to be thinking about that as we move forward. And I think one of the things that we want to think about is that, there's review time is like hugely reduced at our office. we do inheritance tax return. We now have an AI agent that's reviewing those inheritance tax returns. We have AI agents that are reviewing documents for spelled names and even some substantive stuff, reviewing of documents. My favorite is somebody comes in with the whole business and they have the corporate bylaws. Now I can get a summary like that. Now, please know, I understand the ethics of all this. I understand that we have to make sure there's a human in loop, but it's a lot easier to review a summary and assure that it's correct than it does to create the summary. And so I think that's really important for us to be understanding. The one thing I have to say, though, is that our corner of the law, elder law, is the least ready for all of this. So 78% of elder law firms aren't using AI yet. And so it's the lowest adoption rate of any practice area. And we can think about, I think part of that is that so much of what we do is deeply personal and trust-based. So as our client base skews a little bit older, there's it may be that our clients aren't as used to using AI, or we're concerned about some adoption because whether or not they would be okay with that. What I'd urge everybody to think about is let the data show you that. So I remember, this is just an example of years ago, we always triaged everybody by calling them. So you call my office, you make an appointment, somebody's going to call back. They're going to get a whole bunch of information so that when the person comes in for that first appointment, I have that information, but also the clients have thought about things. Those triage calls were amazing. Amazing. In fact, I remember like some of them saying, oh yeah, I talked to Kylie. She was wonderful. And the people really, that intake was wonderful. By the time they got to me, they were already pretty much sold on using my firm because they had such a good experience, such a good intake, right? Well, we can't look at technology then and say, oh, that works, so we can't change it. Because the people we're serving have changed. So like if I was doing something for my mom, the last thing I want to do is for you to call me. And if I'm like a grandchild in that age group, they don't want to talk to you on the phone, right? So, we automated that by having people fill out online forms. And, at our office for a long time, we would say to people, it's your choice. You can have somebody call you, or you can fill out this form. It's really whether or not we've used different forms. It's really whether or not that form is easily able to be filled out. And it depends on that client. So if that client is a busy doctor, of course they want to fill out that form on a Sunday. If that client is a 90-year-old whose wife just went into the nursing home, maybe he does want a phone call. But what I would say to everybody is staying stuck with, we think things have to be done a certain way because that's all the way. And if you remove any of that, you're moving what's personal or human about us. That's not true. That's not what the data would show me. As I try new things at my office, I very much watch the data. I watch how is this saving us money? Is it taking more time? Because hey, we've automated things that actually took us more time. But the online forms saved us so much time. Why? Because we use a form that integrates with our practice management software. And it just saves so much time on that intake. But for AI, it's the same thing. You can't. I already have clients who are demanding that I can do more faster for them because they have the answers from AI. So, and you can say like, years ago, I would say to people, well, I don't even want to talk about what Google says, right? Because it wasn't. But AI is a pretty good answer. So we have to be knowing what that says. And so using AI doesn't make elder law less human. In fact, quite honestly, it gives you more time to be human with your clients. It also allows you to communicate to them in a manner that they want. So again, We have all kinds of visuals that we use at the office that would have taken us thousands of dollars and hours of time to put together. And now we can put them together kind of individually for every client by using AI. And people really like that because they feel more comfortable. They're given the information in a format and a manner that they like. So I think it's really important that you don't just say we're not doing this because we're elder law attorneys and we need to be more human with people. I think I'm more human today with the help of AI, because really what I'm doing with my time more is spending it with the people rather than the documents or the processes and systems that get me there to that person. So I think that's important for people to be understanding. I talked about this, a little bit already. This whole idea that AI may not take your staff's job, but it will change what their job is. And I do think it is important that you are honest and open with people about that, because they know, and start talking to people about what different things that they would start doing. What would they like to see happen? And be honest about it's going to change your job. So you're going to have to, have a new skill set. So I think about, my daughter's friend's dad who worked in a factory for most of his life. And then the machines took over. And so he had to learn how to do the machines, right? And now he's a consultant, very high paid consultant, who is going around to all kinds of different factories and giving advice about that. There's no doubt his job was going to be eliminated. He had to learn how to do it differently, but taking that knowledge base that he had and applying it in a different manner. And so I think that's important for people to really be thinking about. So as an example, taking somebody from like drafting to reviewing. So we have an AI agent now that drafts our powers of attorneys. Same people, higher value work. But instead of drafting those documents, they're reviewing those documents that have been drafted by AI. Now, please know we've done this for years with automation, with different, wealth counsel, interactive legal. So one of the questions I'm always asking to myself is, are they using AI? So I love the fact that interactive legal has an AI component to it that allows me to review the documents, moving forward. So I think it's important. For me, it's like shifting from how fast can you produce this to how well you can produce this. And so I think that's important. So intake, phone answering, scheduling, document assembly, they're all faster now. At my office, we take less time producing and more time thinking and serving our clients, which I think is a great outcome. And so I think it does create a little bit more expertise to be a reviewer than a drafter. It's also less tedious. And so I think that's important for people. Now, please know, I also think there's a lighter side to all of this. And that's that my new AI agent never complains about how you like things done. So, I mean, if you're on here, you have that one person at your office that's always telling people like, you need to do it this way. Or we have our procedures, they're written down, hopefully they're written down. And then somebody does it differently because like they think it's better that way. And so I like that. I like the fact that, our AI phone responder covers the objections, says the same thing. And I was very okay to adopt that because we've had a chat agent on our website for years that has worked quite well. And this is just a whole nother level because it's powered by AI. So it can figure out, we have 7 office locations. Where's somebody at? Are they in crisis? Are they pre-planning? Do they have a little bit more money? So the AI is asking the same 8 questions that my staff was taught to ask. Well, they're asking the same 8 questions every single time. And they're asking some follow-up questions that I've always wanted my phone responders to ask. If somebody has an objection, they have the script that they're using to respond to those objections. every single time. And so I think it's really, really important that we be thinking about it. And so the serious point underneath all of this is the barrier to AI adoption is almost never that the technology is resistant to change. It is technology is a helpful, agreeable teammate. And I think that shouldn't be overlooked in this circumstance. So let's talk about how do we actually do this. So we've talked about, kind of the why now, and I think that letter from 2029 is the best. And, adding with that, what my experience has been at my office, because we can see it now. We're 2 years into this. Like, I can see it. I can see what it's done. I can see where we're saving money, where we're doing a better job. I can see the transformation. Please know we have a long way to go. And that's because it's changing. So how do we actually, do this? So, grab a pen, take some notes. The next parts of this is really what I think is a really important step-by-step process. First, I would be remiss to say you should never run AI without a policy. You have to put the guardrails and the tools before they go wide. And if you don't have a policy yet, you need a policy just to tell your staff not to use AI. This isn't about ethics. I could go a whole hour about ethics, but your staff might be using it, is likely using it, and doesn't even know it. So you need to kind of put those guardrails in place. So like at my office, they're allowed to use the paid version of Copilot. We have other products like, Interactive Legal, Query, some other things. So it's all within like, hey, you can use this. So we really want to know the basic policy is going to cover which tools are approved and which are banned. Like you can't use Copilot. That's not the paid version, right? What information can be entered into any type of AI, what can never be entered into AI. How the mandatory review, the human in the loop, how that's actually happening at your firm. So, how's that done? And so that's important. I think you have to understand that you have to frame this positively for staff. It's not to slow them down. It's really just to kind of make them safe. So, but it's necessary because there's ethics rules that, there's over, I know the last time I saw the statistic, there's over 700 lawsuits against attorneys for using AI in the wrong way. And so one pager, and I know that I had provided that last time to Amber, and if I can always provide ours again, but that's the most important thing. So you need a policy so that your staff knows what to use, when to use, how to use it, what's allowed. For many people too, that policy is also going to have to be given to your clients. So if you're using AI at all, you have to communicate that with your clients. So in most states, it's required. In every state, it would be the best practice, the best thing to do. So, two, you got to get past like the search bar habit. So it's like the lazy AI, like people are excited because they can AI things. Like, you really have to train on the real features: drafting, summarizing, document analysis, custom assistance. So I see some people have Lexi AI agents or, AI agents. That's really, the real meat of this, where you're going to get productivity, not just answering quick questions. And so you've got to get past that. If you're just doing that just barely scratches the value of all of this. So as a practical move, pick 3 to 5 of the most repetitive tasks that you do at your office and build a workflow around that to do it easier. So I can give examples at my office: repetitive tasks, drafting letters. So I have a template for what a letter should look like when it goes out of our office, like how many spaces here, how many spaces there, what the font is. And so we would always get letters that were kind of not following that format, and I wanted them following that format. So we had an AI agent. that did that. So think about repetitive tasks, drafting powers of attorneys. That's a repetitive task. So just think about in your situation what those tasks are. And then you want to, kind of let people play with it a little bit. And we'll talk about that more later. But don't think about, don't start with what software should I use and let the software tell you what to do. Look at your own offices and figure out what those repetitive tasks are. Intake, answering phones, drafting documents, reviewing things, and just pick like 3 of them. And then your next step is to say, okay, what things will do those tasks well? So this is where we get into what's the platform we use. Are we using Copilot? Are we using Claude? Are we using, are we using ChatGPT? What are we going to use to fulfill that? And for some things, it's going to be very specific to, are we recording a meeting? Are we answering the phones? Are we drafting something? Are we reviewing documents? So for me, we're going to be using different platforms because they do different things well. So you have to put the platform together. Now, of course, something like a Copilot, a Claude, those types of things, they're going to have the most far reaching. But like I talked about last time about the Medicaid, they're not really the best for numbers, to be honest. So again, pick those repetitive tasks. And you want to do that because that's where you're going to get the profitability. Because one of the things that happened at my firm is that when you add AI, you add a lot of expense. You're adding, now Copilot just got a lot cheaper, and that's because co-work has come out. But, you're adding, we also had safety issues. We had to change to really get, we worked on it a little bit and I thought, oh, this is wonderful. Like we have a client status finder. So somebody calls me, I just put on my client status finder and it tells me what's going on in that file, except for it can only read certain things. And so we made changes so it could get access to more data, but that has to be done, ethically. So, I love that client status finder. I also love, reviewing. It gives me my daily to-do, like, what's today like? Where am I at with today? Like, so I get a summary email at the beginning of every morning that talks about that. Well, part of that is who has access to what emails and what information. And, I didn't want somebody else's agent to be able to look at my emails. And so you do have to think through some of this, but that's why I tell you, start with just like 3 to 5 tasks and then think about how do you get those tasks done? What are our options to get those tasks done? So I think that's really where you can get a lot of help and not get stuck or overwhelmed by all of this. You also really have to make this genuinely fun for your staff. I learned that from Linda Stroshine, and she's 100% right. So I'm sitting here worried about all of this, and she's having her staff, do crayon pages or pictures of their dogs. And I went back and did stuff like that, and it really got the staff to use it. So playful exercises, sharing wins, running friendly challenges. Let people experiment with low stakes. You need to have people actually use it. It's funny, we had our AI immersion in May, and that was like some of the people hadn't used it yet. That's like the first thing, like, well, what do I do next? Use it. Like, start just getting fun and familiar with it is so important. Core skill, prompting. I don't care what software you use. I don't care whether it's Copilot, Querius, I don't care what it is. Prompting is a new literacy. So you have to give prompt training. Linda Stroshine did an hour-long presentation at our AI 1.0 in Boston. And I think, and I've seen her do that a couple of times for some NALA events, I think it's the best at it. And just, it's an hour-long presentation too, but just kind of set up, and I can tell you in just a few minutes things that will be really helpful. For prompt training, you have to give the context, set the role, showing example, and ask the format you want. So they're kind of the basics. So for instance, setting the role. So if I'm writing the letter, I have to tell it, I'm the senior partner of an elder law firm, and I'm asking you to write this letter. If my paralegal's writing it, she has to say, write this as a paralegal, or write this as the senior partner if she's writing it for me. So it's really important that you set the role. And again, it doesn't matter what software you're using, what program, you've got to set that role. It's great to show an example. Upload a document. So I want you to do this petition to compel an accounting. Here's another one. I want you to do this guardianship petition. Here's an example. So showing that example is really, really helpful. And then ask for the format that you want back. How do you want it back? Do you want it as a petition? So sometimes we're saying, hey, here's all this information. Give us a summary that's an infographic. Like, so don't give me a whole bunch of text. Give me a summary that, is an infographic that I can give to my clients that's very visually appealing. So that's really important, that you really do. This is a skill that people need to learn, and it doesn't matter what software it is, they need to learn about that. So, the context, who you are, example of a good output, specify the form, treat this as a first draft and refine it. And I think one of the things I've learned is, at my office, my son, DJ, is our AI native. So he's went to college at a time when they were actually using AI. He's in law school now and they're using AI. So he approaches this, differently than I do. And I think one of the things that's important about that is he can prompt in a better way, and he is more pushy with the prompting. So I'm very much like, could you please do this for me? Like, thank you. I don't know if I'm like of the age that I think there's going to be like robots coming and taking us over. My son isn't. Like, he's happy to say, no, that's not what I wanted. Like, you didn't listen to me, or like be more forceful with the AI and his prompting. Like, don't do this, don't hallucinate, don't do this. Like, so I think that's really important. And so I've learned a lot from myself, and I've worked on prompting. You can even ask the prompt to give you the prompt. So you can actually have it prompt you. And again, larger than what we can talk about today, but I think that's the core skill that everybody really needs. And understanding that, it's not, if you put a prompt in and you didn't get what you want, that's okay. That's like a first draft. You have to refine it, keep going at it, and you'll get what you need moving forward. Definitely for all of you, you need to set up an AI team. And that's because nothing happens in any law firm unless you focus on it. So you have meetings scheduled, you have deadlines scheduled, you've kind of thought about what's going on. So at our office, we have a small group of people who meet monthly to review what's working, update the policy, vet new tools, share wins. We have another team that meets, once a week, kind of about it. Because, we had a great program that we were using, and all of a sudden our staff wasn't using it. Like, oh, it doesn't work. Well, did you say to the people that trained us, like the company that we're buying it from, that it doesn't work? No, they didn't, so, it's like, well, no, it's not working for us. Doesn't mean the software doesn't work. It means that somewhere, our process and procedure might not be the right thing. But you have to have an AI team. It can be you and just one other person if you're a smaller firm. I do suggest get some younger people involved that are more AI native. They will just approach and problem solve in a way that you won't if you're older. And that's not good or bad. In fact, quite honestly, I think you need a variety of people on your team. But you've got to set up that AI team. You've got to meet, set up goals, and move it forward. And so I think that's important. You got to make room for this. Everybody at your office is about getting their task list done for the day and moving on. And so you've got to give time for this. Skills need unhurried hours. There's no doubt about that. And in any law firm, I'm sure you can be like, it's a Monday, like 4 people came in that we didn't realize. And so you really need to do that. So protect real time to experiment. It's like when if Sunny comes out at my office, my son DJ does their AI training. They get an hour of training on how to use Copilot and how that works within our system, and really kind of understanding it. He actually doesn't need an hour to do that training. He needs less than that, but he purposely makes it run long so that he can have time for them to actually play with it while he's there. So they've gotten to start, they didn't just like learn about it and it's like, you know, one more thing they have to do. He gives them time to start and tries to do something fun with it. And so that, you know, that AI hour on the calendar is designed to give them time to use it and play with it. You, if AI matters to you, you're going to have to give your staff paid time to learn how to do it. You got to fund the time. And you've got to, you know, make it a priority at your office so that people start working on it. Now, what I can tell you is once they taste it and they start working on it, many of them will run with it. So I have some of my best paralegals amazingly run with it, and they're so happy because they can get through their work in a much faster, easier way. And I think that's a win for them. So I've had some paralegals work with me for a long time, and some of their jobs were like drudgery, and they've been able to get rid of that. And so once you give people time to play and they kind of get hooked and they see what's in it for them and they see that this can be helpful, it just kind of runs itself then. At least that's my experience at my office. You do have to let them know what is it, what is in it for them. You have to sell it to your team. That's true of everything. That doesn't mean that you don't have good staff. That's just human nature. So less drudgery, boring, repetitive tasks disappear. New in-demand skills, prompting, AI fluencies, was really going to grow their career at your firm or any place else that they go to. It's more valuable work. We're shifting to judgment of things, making decisions, reviewing things, and working with clients. You know, particularly for young associates, they have to be able to work with clients quicker. They do. They really do, because there's just not a lot I can give them that I can't have AI do, or that one of my paralegals can have AI do. And I think for, you know, my paralegals, some of my best ones were often working some overtime. We didn't want that, but, you know, just honest, it does allow them to get more work done. And that's not so they're, you know, not working hard. It just feels more comfortable. And so for me, even it feels more comfortable. So sometimes I'm working, but now I have AI drafting that first draft of that email. It's easier to review that email than to do it all from scratch or have to give it to somebody else and wait for it to come back to me. Set your expectations. So I know a lot of times you hear the 80-20 rule, and really it's used that like 80% is bad and like the 20% is like the cream of the crop. I've actually found the opposite with AI. I found that about 80% of my staff will lean in, and I'm going to lead with them. And 20% will resist, and that's okay. And you have to decide how much of your time you're going to spend with that 20%. So if people are giving you, you do all of this, and they're still giving you objections, it might be okay to let them with their objections. And not spend a lot of your time on that, but spend your time with the 80% that is moving forward with this. So again, I understand that usually the 80-20 rule is the exact opposite, but in my experience at all of my businesses, I found about 80% of people are going to lean into this. Some will do better than others, but about 80% are going to. For the persistent holdouts, those 20%, we want to be clear and kind to them. You know, they're not going to continue to, I have one right now where she continues to work overtime, and she really doesn't need to work overtime if she would just use AI responsibly. And so it really has to be framed to people as that this is a normal expectation. It's not a punishment. You have to, the reality is that your early adopters of your office are the real training engine. And empower them. So don't spend too much of your time with that 20% that's not going to do it. Spend your time with that 80% and run with them, because they're the people that you're going to need anyways, and they're the people that are going to be able to get 100% of the work done. And so I think that's important for people to really be realizing. I think it's good. I think in the beginning, I was hesitant myself, and I thought it might be the other way around, that a lot of people wouldn't be willing to do this or able to do it. And I think they're willing and able to do it. And so I think sometimes what it can do is it can prop up the strengths and make people stronger in what they are stronger. And so sometimes maybe some of their weaknesses, it can really help with that and leave them with less frustration and less overwhelm and fatigue. So the playbook is never run AI without a policy. Make it get that past that search bar habit and understand like there's 3 to 5 tasks that you ought to be automating right now. We do it and then we go in and do new things. Make it genuinely fun. Teach real prompting. Stand up monthly AI team. Set it up. Meet monthly at least about it. Put time on your own calendar to do it. And protect your staff's time. Give them time to explore, to take this on. And so I think one of the things that we always want to think about, if anybody's on here, you're on here, I'm thrilled you're on here. This is a topic I love to talk about. But for it to be worth your time, I think you have to think about what's one step that you're willing to start this week. So what's one thing you're willing to do? For some of you, you might feel like you're overwhelmed and you're not able to do this at all by yourself. And please know, I wasn't able to do this all by myself. I worked with other elder law attorneys across the nation, and it shared ideas and exchanged ideas. I also have a firm where I have a director of IT that used to work for Little League International. I have a CFO who's very tech savvy. So I have the tools at my disposal to be able to build this within my firm. And so if you're on here and you're thinking this would be hard just to do by yourself or continuously do, we do have an invitation for you to do this together. We really have 2 things coming up at the $1 Million Solution. One is an immersion, which is an in-day event, and the other is just weekly calls about it, touching calls, where we run through all 6 of these steps plus more, because we are able to say, here's our experience, here's what worked, here's what we didn't work. Like recording client meetings, there's some things you just shouldn't be doing. And so we've figured that out. So AI Immersion for your firm, it's really a guided rollout. We implement all 6 steps with your team live. We do have right now monthly weekly meetings going on. So you can jump into a current cohort right now. And that's hard to do because those people might be ahead of you. But personally, I like to jump in when people are ahead of me because I can learn the most. You can catch up instantly by getting recordings of the first 5 sessions. And all of this is very hands-on, not theory. Built around real elder law workflows. So I think that's important because yes, you can go find out other law things for AI, but remember they're going to be dealing with depositions and contract reviewing, and that's not what we do for a living. And so we really want you to be able to do that. AI 2.0. So we had AI 1.0, which was in May, and I talked about some of the content there, with Linda talking about prompting, us talking about really how do you build your AI house? How do you build your practice again? And a lot of that was about how do you build a good foundation? Because what I found was I didn't have a good foundation. I had to go back and redo some things for data integrity and safety. But really, this is really an AI 2.0. Our immersions are designed for a smaller group of people, give a full transition for firms to really lead that. And so at that immersion, and there's a QR code you can click on to reserve your spot today. It is October 19th and 20th in Boston, Massachusetts. And if you register today, you're going to get immediately access to our past 10-week AI recordings, the weekly sessions coming up, our previous AI workshop contents, and so a really important practical strategy, systems, workflows, an automation design specifically for elder law firms to see how successful law firms increase efficiency, improve our operations, and accelerate growth. So really important step. Knowing about AI is no longer the advantage, it's implementing it. And implementing is hard at any firm. Change is hard at any firm. So So every firm's heard the promises. Far fewer have changed how the work actually gets done. Firms that move from taking it from implementing are answering clients faster, running leaner teams, and pulling farther ahead every single quarter. We see it at our office. We see it with the law firms that we're already coaching in this. So if you're stuck between doing and knowing, firm owners aren't short on AI information. My goodness, your email box gives you webinar after webinar that you can listen to. They're short on a system, an owner, and a plan for putting it together. What will work best for your firm? That could depend on your practice management. It could depend on, are you a more Google firm, a more Microsoft firm? So you really need a system. So subscriptions pile up. You say, oh, I'm going to sign up for that. I'm going to sign up for this. You have to have a plan. And so teams are left guessing, and they do experiment on their own. Unanswered risk questions, confidentiality, governance, and nobody owns the rollout. So you got to get that AI team together. You have to have somebody who's able to roll out. And so if all of this kind of sounds familiar to you, that's exactly why AI 2.0 Immersion was built to close, to have you be able to move this together. Why this matters now, not next year. I know some of you are like, oh, well, we'll do that in 2027. Client expectations have already moved. They've already moved. We're getting clients now from AEO, answer engine optimization. I'm not paying for that. So you can keep paying all your money for your SEO and all the other stuff. I have more of the share of AEO. Faster answers, clearer pricings on the baseline, not a plus anymore. Competitors can get ahead of you. I just had somebody say, oh, wow, I can't believe that you're able to do this for me individually, but we're able to do that. The tools do really deliver. The agents run real law firm workflows. Like, please know, drafting the powers of attorneys, that's something we had to work on for a while. It wasn't just that we did it right the first time. There were some failures in there. And so your best people, also, they want this. Your good employees, they want this. They want modern systems. They want manual workabouts. They don't want to continue doing the job the way that they've always done it if they don't have to. So that's really, really important for us to be thinking about.
We have a couple of questions here, Julie, if you're open to those.
Actually, that was what I was just trying to reach out to see the questions. I appreciate it, Amber.
Sure.
I get chit-chatting away.
Somebody asked, how is the platform like Copilot billed? Is it monthly, annually, or per user?
So it is per user. It is billed annually. It used to be $320. I mean, depends on how you pay for your Microsoft. You can do that up into monthly amounts, but it used to be about $320 a year. I can tell you that for 2025, I spent about $15,000 at my office. Now I have a large office, so it's $320 a user. That was reduced down to about $4,000 or $5,000 for 2026. So the Copilot has really decreased in its billing. I will tell you, they have a thing called co-work that you bill as you use it on consumption. One of the things we work really hard to do is to figure out how do we do it in co-work and not in Copilot and not use the new co-work that will be billed higher.
Okay.
Go ahead. The October program is not only in person. People can attend virtually. We do suggest that one person from a firm attends in person and the rest can attend virtually. But you can all attend virtually. We did have that before. So it could be like some of it's more about marketing and you should have your marketing person on that. It could be that it's more about document drafting, or maybe like we did a thing about Medicaid. So we had the people that worked in Medicaid on that. Yeah. So Nancy, it can be all virtual. And so you can contact Dom Lafredo about that, sign up and then talk to him about that, and we'll make sure that happens. Any other questions? Nope, there's a new question. So this is built for people who run the firm, owners and managers. I kind of said this, marketing teams, operations, IT, and administration. Really, there's gains that you can get in all places. The reason I think it's important for the owner or an attorney to be there is that somebody has to decide, what is all this going to look like, and what are our priorities as a firm. And so I think that's important. But you can focus just on marketing, you can focus on operations. You do also have to have some understanding of IT and security, or have us help you understand that with your managed service provider, to make sure that you're set up correctly. And if you don't have a managed service provider, you might need to get one. That's like the person that's your computer guy. That's what I always call them. And my daughter is like, no, Mom, it's a managed service provider. So what we'll be able to do tomorrow, every session allows us to build our firm's framework, automate real law firm work, answer the risk questions, get dependable output. So again, there's a QR code there. If you click on that QR code, you are welcome to sign up for that. You'll get our AI 1.0, our current monthly class, and then also you'll end up getting access to 2.0. The difference 2 days makes, you're probably sitting here, some of you are probably sitting here, you have tools purchased, nothing implemented, you have staff experimenting without a standard, risk and compliance questions. Afterwards, you can have a full way of doing it for your firm, clear governance, measurable efficiency, a rollout system that you can start. 2 days can really change your firm. That's what I can tell you for sure, because I've seen it happen. We also have some bonuses. So anybody who's able to sign up by the end of this week can get a bonus, which is a free discovery call. So immediately you're going to get personalized guidance about your firm, which we think is really important. So you'll receive a complimentary discovery call with Dom Lafredo. Identify your AI opportunities, discuss your firm-wide specific workflows and management, receive practical recommendations, and create a roadmap. And so that's really important for anybody. So if you sign up by the end of the week, you'll get that free discovery call. You'll also start learning today. And so our weekly live sessions, AI 2.0, actually is probably coming up in a few minutes, I think. Moving forward, it's every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And so attending those upcoming live sessions, access to the past recordings, live question and answer, real people. Linda's on there. Sometimes I'm on there. Dom and Courtney are on there. So real people and other law firms that you can talk with. So what do you need to know before you register? Our event is AI 2.0. It's an immersion, small group of people designed to immerse you in it and give you a plan. It's October 19th and 20th in Boston, Massachusetts. It is available virtually. Law firm owners, partners, and key players in your firm should attend. There is limited seating for this. We do keep it as a smaller event on purpose. You don't want to go to an event where we're just talking at you. We really want to be able to help you do that. Dom Lafredo leads the AI implementation for the $1 Million Solution and delivers our 10-week course, and we'll work with you. I will, of course, will be at the AI 2.0 immersion and help show what we're doing at our firm. So a lot of times people ask, I don't have 2 days. That's the point. That's the point. 2 focus days replace months of start and stop experimenting. Can you actually use this in your firm? Yes. We guarantee that you'll be able to use this in your firm. Will you get anything practical? Yeah. You're going to have workflows. You're going to have decided how to do it, really understand how to use prompts. If you say you already tried AI, well, it's different today than it was 6 months ago, and it's going to be different again. Still deciding, register, do the AI one-on-one discovery call. And if you don't think it's for you, attend some of the events. And if you don't think it's for you, there's the weekly thing. You can say, listen, I didn't think this was for me, or I'm not ready for this, but at least try, at least take a step forward. So secure your spot. It's $1,750 per person, $3,500 for 2 attendees. And we do have a bonus going on right now that if you bring 3 people, you only bring them for the cost of 2. So pay for 2 people and get 3, which is wonderful. So again, click on that QR code and register now. If you have any questions, you're welcome to contact me or Dom Lafredo, and I will put his email in the chat. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you being on and listening. And I hope that we're able to help you implement AI at your office. We will be giving these slides and some other materials to Amber that you can access to help you get started.
Thank you, Julie. We really appreciate your time today, and thank you everybody for being on the session today. We appreciate it, and we will send out information about our September webinar in the next couple of days. Thank you.